Hey there, guys. Jacking with Nick. Happy New Year to you all. I had a fantastic year. I had a fantastic New Year's celebration. I didn't party that much, but me and a friend hung out. One of my old buddies that I've known since kindergarten. One of my oldest friends. We hung out and built a fire, made some food, and stayed up till midnight and shot guns to scare the old year away. That's a tradition around here in the valley. It's so fun at midnight. Just bam, 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 bam from all corners of the valley. Bam. It's really fun. But yeah, it's to scare the old year away or something. I don't know where that comes from. It's maybe a redneck thing. Not sure. I think it's just a redneck thing. But I want to do some reflection and some review of 2018, just because the main thing that I get out of celebrating a new year is that it's a marker of time, and as time passes, I think it's really important to take note of it and reflect on your life, reflect on your life, because yeah, dude, eventually it's all gone, and I mean, you can live every moment in the moment, right? You could live every single moment. You could try, but it's really, I find it very valuable to reflect on the past, and especially the recent past, and part of it to try to notice the mistakes you made so that you can not make them in the future. Part of it is just appreciating that you had that opportunity to spend that time here, that your experience in this timeline brought you to the experiences you had in 2018. It's just important to recognize, I think. And it's also important to remember that where you came from, I think that, people, I think the culture around the United States, especially, I don't know about other places, maybe it's similar in other areas of the world where people move around a lot. Maybe it's just something that happens during this time. It's really easy to get in a car or a plane and travel somewhere else. And I know a lot of people who have uprooted and left their place where they came from, or have lost touch with the people they grew up with, or maybe don't identify with the culture they were raised in. I don't know. I do know. I know those people. I don't know what I was saying. but it's an interesting thing, because I think that I have the opposite experience, where I've spent 20 years, 2 decades in the same spot, same place. And maybe I don't think I'm going to move. My plan is to be here until I'm 80, until I die. I'd like to die on this farm. That'd be cool. If it doesn't happen, whatever, I can't control that shit. But I'd like to die here. I'd like to spend my whole life building a project here. And part of that project is building the community around me, and part of that is to connect with the community around me, because there's already a community here. I don't need to create one. It's just building it up and trying to make it a better community for everybody. And I really identify with that, and that's something I've come to this year a bit more. Maybe I've had some of those tendencies in the past, and I don't know. I think this is something that's been kind of near to my heart for maybe a lot of my life. Not even just this year, but trying to connect to the history of where I'm from and the people. It's very interesting to me, because there aren't very many young people in this valley where I grew up. There's not very many people here. I live in Oregon, and the coastal range, kind of west of Corvallis, Oregon, in a little place called Kings Valley. And I live west of Kings Valley. I don't even live in Kings Valley. That's more populated than where I'm from. I live like 10 minutes down the road from Kings Valley, out towards Valsette's, a little place that used to be called RL. We had a train station back in the day. The Valley and Siletz Railroad came up through here. And my great-grandfather had a mill on one of the rivers here, one of the little creeks, and did a bunch of logging in the hills around me. And some of his ancestors are here, some of my family, other people from throughout the years, other people that maybe, I don't know if anybody's been in this valley longer than Barnhart's, but there have been a lot of people, and there are a lot of people still. I don't know, maybe there's not quite 15 houses around here. And it's interesting because I've done a little bit of research. I've talked to some of the old folks from around here, and I kind of have an idea of some of what it was like when there was a mill and there were more people here, and what it's like to kind of have grown up in this spot. And I have cousins that are older than me. I've kind of watched them grow up, and cousins that are younger than me that I'm watching grow up, and cousins somewhat the same age. And we've grown up here, and it's kind of interesting to have this little space on Earth, this little almost Garden of Eden that I feel like that a lot of us take for granted. Not everybody. We all do a little bit of outdoorsy stuff. We raise animals and do farm work, log, go hunting. A lot of people hunt around here, and we enjoy it, and we take advantage of it. And I think that it's not totally underappreciated, but this is one of those things this is a place where the story doesn't really get told. Nobody knows anything about RL in the world. This doesn't have hardly any significance. Maybe some of your trees came out of here, some of the lumber that built your house, that is. But, aside from you listening to this podcast and having a connection of listening to Nick, who was, born and raised here, you don't know anything about Hoskins, probably. You learned a little bit in the history because it was a fort. That's where during the colonization of Oregon, when they moved by force, many of the native people, they brought them through, people from around the valley, brought them through Fort Hoskins there. And that's really, I don't know, it's not that much history. It's barely 200 years of written history. If not even, right? It was like 1848 when people came out here. White people, that is. And it's interesting to me because I'm spending time looking back on my life and where I'm from and my roots. And I see some places where I've stepped away, but a lot of it, I'm part of my life is I'm really trying to get back to some of the old knowledge that I think has been lost. Part of that is the history and the stories of places. Part of that, the main part for me, is the farming practices and the knowledge that human beings gain through building a deep relationship through thousands of years with their natural environment, and how that's been, and now that's been lost, or a lot of it has. Because we live different lives now. We spend so much time on screens that, this human invention we created to capture our attention, and they're very useful. Don't get me wrong. I have my phone right in front of me right now. But, a big part of my life has been trying to connect to that old way of life, because I think that there is something missing in our culture today. And part of it has to do with social media and these screens. But part of it really has to do with the older generations not teaching the younger generations how to do these things. And it's because the economy changed. You don't need to be a farmer. You can get a college degree. That's what my grandparents did. That's what my parents did. And that's what most people do, right? But there's something that you miss from taking that path. From deciding to go through, going through school and that process and higher education. And especially if you move away from home especially if you have a bad relationship with your family. And that's not something necessarily you can control. None of these things are certainly are necessarily things you can control. I mean, you can drop out of school. You can try to build a better relationship with your parents, but sometimes you're in a situation and that's what happened, and that's what that's the way it is, and there's not much you can change about it, and it may not be worth it. But I guess I think that I don't know how many people come from a small town in the United States or anywhere. But I think that the big thing I'm getting to, or what I'm trying to get to, is the community. And I don't think that there's a lot of community in our culture, in the Western culture now. There is some, but these groups that we all identify with, or that so many people identify with, are just too big. And it was like white people and lesbians, or LGBTQ, colored people, whatever you call yourself, whatever you identify as. No judgment here, man. I don't really care. You do you, right? But they're communities, and I've been a part of a community. Like, we can even use I identify with the libertarian anarchists. And there's community there, especially in my relationship with them. But the label libertarian anarchist is much bigger than that community. So to call them the libertarian anarchist part of my community, and that's not really what it is. It's like there are certain libertarian anarchists that are in my community and that I care about, and that I consider part of my culture, because I grew up around them from the time I was 14 to, about maybe 19. All I listened to was libertarian podcasts, and I interacted with these people online, and every year I go to Michigan or New Hampshire to visit them. I try to do things online. This is why I do this podcast, because of them, right? Oh, fuck, most of you guys listening. Probably, right? I forget that most people are my libertarian audience, that these people. And the point that I'm trying to get to is that community, to really have a functioning community, you need to have strong relationships. You can't be in a place where the people don't care about you, or they care more about theirself than you. And that's, I don't know if I want to phrase it that way, because there's a difference between being selfish and being reasonable, right? Like, you need to think about yourself. It's your life. You need to take yourself first sometimes, most of the time. But I've had the pleasure and the privilege to build a lot of interesting relationships in my life. And we're really, I think I said I spent time with my buddy Glenn last night. And this is one of my oldest friends that I have had a lot of interesting experiences with. And we have a deep bond, and I care about him. And that's one of those people. He's one of those people that I will probably know my whole life. And I really appreciate that, because I know that, if I'm in a shitty situation, I can get a hold of Glenn. He's going to help me, if it comes down to it. And there's a lot of people like that. And I have a lot of people like that in my life. And I really, really appreciate that. And I'd like to do more to express that appreciation. But that's something I'll have to try to do this new year. But what I'm getting to, is there's a sense of community that I worry that many people don't have, because I haven't always felt that. I haven't always felt like I'm included in the people that I'm hanging out with or I'm around right now. And, sometimes you just don't know people, but I've been in situations with these people who I've known for a long, long time, and I don't always feel comfortable. And I don't think that has, some of it has to do with the way they communicate with me and the way way my preferences are. Some of it has to do with the way that people move in different directions, But, most of it, I think, to me, is that I build up insecurities and things in my mind that aren't really reasonable, and I can let go of them. I feel that some people think that they're better than me, or that they think that I'm not making smart decisions and they don't respect me. That's something that happens in my mind a lot. But I'm basing it off of these random interactions that aren't the full story of who somebody is and how they feel about you. And there's actions speak louder than words. And there are a lot of people in my life that really shines true. And I really appreciate them. And these are some of these people I grew up with. And I guess what the main point, I'm trying to always come back to this community thing, because I think that's what's important, is building these deep bonds and realizing that in every relationship, you're going to have struggles, and you can't avoid feeling bad about something or somebody. If you are close enough friends with somebody, they're going to piss you off eventually. They're going to make you mad. They're going to make you sad. They're going to be like, you're going to feel upset about something they do. And even if it's in the minorest way, in the tiniest way, but if you spend a lot of time with somebody, you're going to have friction. And that's okay. I, as a libertarian anarchist, one of the things that I did with morality and ethics is that I tried to push it on to everybody that I knew. I held everybody to the same standard. And it wasn't really fair, because everybody has strengths and weaknesses. I happen to be very intellectually minded. I'm very into ideas, and I'm very into how systems work. I like to study things. I like to know stuff. And I care a lot about that. It's kind of like I'm obsessive. That's how much care I put into it. At the age of 15, I built a fucking philosophy. I care about the way the world works and the way reality works. I care about the truth. These things. And other people have different concerns, man, because that's not everything. That's not everything out there. This is a very complicated experience being a human being on planet Earth. And not everybody is intellectually minded. Not everybody cares about ideas. And there are good reasons not to care about ideas. A lot of these people that I have felt kind of, what's the word? Apprehensive is not the word. Some of these people I've held resentment against because they didn't think that they were doing what was right. I held these standards of my own that I built, that I maybe gained from the philosophy that I believed in at the time. But there have been a lot of situations where I've held resentment against people for what they believe in. And for the main fact that they didn't really spend as much time as I did on thinking about what I believe in, because I've done it a lot, and I think it's important. And when people don't do those things, I think the world's going to end. I think that the government is going to get too powerful, and we're going to end up in a fucking, dystopia or whatever. And so I have concerns about the way people act and the way that people think. And so I've used those concerns to build resentment against people, because I think that they're not doing what's right. But something that I've learned, especially this year, and I realized that a while ago because I studied nonviolent communication, I realized, okay, I'm being an asshole, and that's funny because I said nonviolent communication, and that's something you wouldn't say. That's a discommitted, whatever, one of those things. I don't even know, man. But it was really me building these things, and it wasn't the fault of other people that they weren't bad, and they weren't harming me in any way. They were doubting me because I was like pushing these things on me or on them, and I was just being, I sometimes wonder if I'm on the Asperger's spectrum, because that's just, there's not anymore so much, but man, I can really I can really get into the idea and be pretty like obsessive. That's what it is. I don't know, man. But I'm not so much that way anymore because I've really realized that it's not so important to me anymore, like ideas. Because here's the thing is a lot of libertarian anarchists suck. You know, like the people that I thought were on my side, you know, some of them just suck. And this is my realization that I've kind of held down to for a while, is that, you know, everybody's different. It's not based on your ideas. It's not based on where you're from. It's not based on your ethnicity or the color of your skin or the sexual preferences or your gender fluidity. None of that makes you a good or bad person. None of that makes you lesser or better than anybody. Even your intelligence, the ideas you believe in. I mean, right, we can get into it. Like, yeah, if you believe in some stupid shit like, oh yeah, all white people should die. Yeah, you're an asshole. Or like, we need to keep America a ethno-nationalist state. You know, that's pretty fucking stupid, right? Those are stupid things to believe in. And we can say that, but but it's not necessarily ideas. That's you, right? It's not the ideas that make you dumb. It's you that make you dumb and believe in the ideas. And so anyway, like, I think this is a long spiel on really expressing that what matters most is people and the intimate details of their experience. It's not ideas, it's not the economy, it's not whatever the fuck it is. You know, if you want to make a lasting difference to people, you have to take an interest in them as an individual and as a spiritual being on this planet. And maybe you don't believe in that spiritual shit, but, you know, whatever. We'll get into that eventually. If you want to challenge me, I'm cool. You know, I don't mind. I believe that there's something more going on here than just atoms bouncing up against each other. I think it's more complicated than that. I think that there are things happening beyond our full recognition, beyond the five senses that we're so familiar with. And it's hard to explain all that. So I'm not going to do it today, but I really value people. And this is something I've picked up from psychedelics. It's something that you just kind of pick up from going older and realizing that the people in your life really made you who you are. You know, these people I grew up with, these libertarian anarchists, these ideas that I held on to and obsessed over, all that made me who I am. And I'm really appreciative as I look back and I review, right? And I see the mistakes that I made. And I'm trying to fix them, right? I don't care so much about ideas anymore. I care more about how to influence a human being's life and how to make it better on an individual scale. I don't care about trying to fix a country, trying to normalize whatever in this society. I really care about where I'm from and where I live and the people around me and the people that have affected my life. And that's selfish. You can call me that, right? And wasn't I just calling out people for being selfish or something? And here I am. I don't care about the world, dude. I don't care about, I mean, I do, right? On some level, I don't want the world to fall apart because that influences me. We're in a freaking vacuum here. Like that's not it. That's not the word. Anything that happens on Earth can potentially affect me. And so therefore I care. But there's also some just genuine love that I don't hate anybody from another place. I have no beef with anybody anywhere. But the fact is like where my control is here. I don't control things in China or Tibet. I control things here in RL on this little tiny farm. So that's where I focus my control and I focus my efforts. And that's what I think that's the most important thing. And here I am. This is an idea of the way I think the world could change if everybody did what I was doing, right? There are very more important things to do than farming in a little place. But the thing that I think is important and what I was going to be preachy about is to try and build community. Try and build deeper relationships with people. Because that's what I've learned is most important to me. Because over this year, and over the years, farming and yaks and political ideas, philosophy, podcasting, all this has been really, really helpful. Even, I mean, anything. Like, there's other things that I find really, really helpful to my life, including marijuana and psychedelics, and the fact that I try really hard to learn, and that I put hard work and I try to obsess over things so that I can make sure that they happen for me, whatever it is. All these things have gotten to me, what was I saying? I'm so sorry, guys. I lost my train of thought because I was messing up with words. But all of those things, I think what I was saying is that all of those things have got me to where I'm at, and I'm appreciative. But the main thing that I think has really made a difference, and really, like, when I think about why do I want to be here on this planet, it's not to do any of that. It's to enjoy the experiences I have with the people that I know. I find that just way more gratifying thinking about it that way, because I don't know, I've been a kind of person that I'm like a good candidate for a potential workaholic, because I obsess over stuff, and it's not like I do absolutely hard work and I'm like an ultra productive person. Like, I'm not like some freaking Cameron Haynes or Joe Rogan out here doing all kinds of shit. Everybody, but I'm doing some cool things, and I'm packing a lot of meaning into my life, I guess. Or working about, I don't know what the fuck I just said. Sorry, meaning in my life. That's not what I was talking about. I just say the damnedest things sometimes. But the thing that I really appreciate is being with people and enjoying this experience with them. What I was saying is that, I like having my solo projects and being proud of what I've done and to do things on my own. And I like doing these things. And part of it is like, I really want to do stuff. And part of me, it's a really strong part of me. And part of that is kind of, I don't really want to spend that much time with people, which is interesting compared to what I just said, right? But really the thing is I don't really care about spending so much time with people. But I also don't really care that much about being obsessed with the farm work. It's something I really, really want. I really want to have a farm. I really want to be an expert yak farmer, but none of that would be worth it. Like, if I could do it, none of it would be worth it if I didn't keep the friends that I've made through the last, especially 5 years. I should say the friends that have been part of my life in the last 5 years, but everybody in my life, every single person has made an influence on me, and I appreciate that. And it wouldn't be worth it to accomplish anything if I didn't get to keep, especially a good number of these folks. And I'm not going to list anybody, because I have a lot of folks. I have a lot of people in my life that have made significant changes and influences on me. Like, really, it is amazing to look back at everything that I've tried to do. I like to give myself a lot of credit and say that I'm smart and that I've tried to figure these things out, and I put a lot of hard work in. And really, man, that's something I do to kind of remind myself that, that I can take care of myself and that I'm safe if I'm here. It's a defense mechanism, because I'm scared of failure. I'm scared of not living a meaningful life. I'm scared of not having accomplishment for whatever reasons. It's something that's deeply ingrained in my psychology, and the way I do that is I try really hard to learn things and to become accomplished and to do the things that are important. And that's useful. It's really great. But I think that there are just maybe a different mindset that I could adopt that would be a little bit more helpful. I don't have the ability to articulate it at the moment. I had some ideas that I wanted to talk about, but this idea kind of took over. But and this idea being that what's important in life is not meaning and accomplishment. It's building deep relationships. And maybe that's not even true. I don't know. But I think so. I think that, and it doesn't even have to be with humans necessarily. It's like, I just feel like right now, at least, this is one of the most powerful things in my life has been the people around me and the relationships we built. And I think that's really what makes life amazing. And it's the same thing with the yaks, man. What makes it amazing is not that I have yaks. That I have these weird creatures that have a delicious meat and that I feed them hay every fucking 3 days or something. That's not why it's cool. That's not why I do it. It's because I have a relationship with a herd of animals, like a herd of yaks. There's fucking 35 of those beasts out there. And I'm the guy. I'm the guy. I'm their guy, and they're mine. It's a relationship. And the same thing with all these pigs. And I even myself, I view it as somewhat of an ownership situation or scenario. Yeah. Relationship where I'm the guy who's in charge. I'm the guy that goes around and makes things happen for them in the way that I want it to happen, right? But dude, I wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't treat them the way that I treat them, so that they, have been put into enough comfort and routine that, the things that I do with them are smooth. At first when I had these jacks, it was kind of hard to move that many. But now, over the years, I just got to do like a couple certain things and they know what to do. They know what I'm doing. I don't know if it's because we pass on these vibes or if they just notice the pattern. It's like, oh, this is how he moves around us when we go over to the pole barn. But they know, dude. They figure it out. And they start doing it. Sometimes they make mistakes. Sometimes they start heading to the pole barn and they're like, I'm not going to the pole barn. I'm just coming out here to check on chickens, dude. I don't know, man. But it's a relationship. It's something, and what are the pieces to a relationship? Good question. I'm not even going to get into it because I think that this is just the idea I want to focus on today. Is build those relationships and build, and I guess what that means is build patterns. And no, I'm not. I don't want to get into it because it's too much of an intellectual thing, and I don't have the answers for you, and I don't want to try, because this is more important. As you spend your new year thinking about what you're going to do, man, accomplish something cool. Do it. Do something for yourself. But I promise you, if you try to take yourself out of the situation, take your ego out and don't think about it. I don't know how to explain this. This is a weird practice, and connect to your relationship with the world, higher power, the ideas you believe in, and just do what you think is best. Don't get stuck up in mundane details about the body you have or the fitness goals of 2019. All that's really, really cool. Do whatever. Make money, build your business, raise yaks, whatever, take care of them animals well, do your job well, be, gain respect or whatever it is. Do those things, but don't do it for that. Don't farm so that you can have a beautiful food forest someday. Do that. But don't make it the core reason. And this is something I realized this year, is that I just put my core reason for doing things isn't always the best reason to do those things. And so I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to change some of these core reasons of why do I live my life here? It's not to raise yaks necessarily. It's not to become a farmer. It's not to become famous. It's not to do this podcast. Those are all parts of it. I'm doing this life, and part of it is doing that. And that's partly why I'm here, right? That's partly why I've decided that I want to be here. But the main thing is that I really enjoy the relationships I've built. And I want to see them grow. And I want to see them change. I want to see this experience become whatever it's going to become. And no matter what, I think it's going to be more rich. That's what I'm excited about. And I hope this made sense to you on some level, because I don't know, it's a hard thing for me to express, and it's, I never know. Did it come out clearly? No idea. But I'll try to cut it short here because this is a pretty long podcast. Yeah, guys, watch your core reasons. Watch out. Just watch out. And make sure that you're doing what you want to do. Because that's really what matters. Do what you want to do. And I guess what I'm saying is that building relationships will bring a lot of fulfillment and bring a lot of meaning into your life. But that's not necessarily why to do it. Don't do it for those reasons. Do it because you actually genuinely appreciate people and the relationships that you're building. Don't do it out of the emotions. Don't do it just because you feel bad about something. Don't do it for that. Those are fine reasons. Don't use those as reasons not to do it. But do it because you want to do it. You know? That's all I've got. So, hey, hope you enjoyed this. I hope that your new year is fantastic. I will try to get this out very quickly. And that's it, guys. I don't know. I'm not going to give any promises. I hope that we can continue to build this relationship. That I can keep putting out these words and keep trying to express some wisdom, because I think that's something I'm kind of good at. You know, I'm always learning. I'm still learning. But I don't know, man. I appreciate you listening, and I appreciate all of it. And thank you especially to the Patreon people who pay, because that's it's just absolutely fantastic, man. That's all I can say. Like, it's all I can fucking say. It's fantastic, and I mean that. I really mean that. So, yeah, again, thank you, and have a nice day.